Evan Mercer arrived at the gala with the quiet confidence of someone who had nothing to prove and no desire to attract attention. The event celebrated the nearing completion of a $600 million acquisition deal, one that had drawn executives, investors, and social climbers from all over the city. He had been to countless events like this over the years, but tonight he chose to attend without the typical trappings of wealth: no designer tux, no entourage, no visible signs of influence. He preferred to blend in and observe the people soon to be tied to his company. This was his chance to see their true behavior, not the masked version usually presented to someone of his status. As he wandered through the glittering ballroom, he paused to admire a small display of wines set up near the bar. Before he could pour a glass, a cluster of already intoxicated middle managers pushed past him. One of them, a tall man with a too loud laugh, stumbled into Evan, nearly knocking the glass from his hand. "Watch where you're standing, man," the drunk executive slurred, as though Evan had appeared out of thin air just to irritate him. Another man in the group, eager to impress the others or maybe simply drunk enough to think humiliation was entertainment, flicked his wrist and intentionally tipped a full glass of red wine onto Evan's white shirt. The deep crimson spread instantly, a stark stain blooming like a slow-burning fire. For a moment, the group roared with laughter. "That's what you get for standing around like a statue," one of them cackled. Evan simply looked down at his shirt, then back up at the men. His face remained calm, controlled, the faintest hint of amusement tugging at the corner of his mouth. "No worries," he said softly. They walked away, not bothering to apologize, not even giving him a second glance. To them, he was a nobody, an underdressed, insignificant guest who didn't belong in their orbit. None of them recognized him. None had bothered to look closely or treat him with basic respect. And none knew that he was the reason this entire evening existed. The next morning, the executives entered the boardroom on the top floor of a downtown skyscraper for the final negotiation of the acquisition. Their energy was loud, confident, even smug. But the moment they stepped inside, their expressions shifted dramatically. At the head of the long polished table sat Evan Mercer, clean suit, calm posture, and an unmistakable air of quiet authority. He was flanked by lawyers, analysts, and members of his leadership team. The executives stopped dead in their tracks. One of them actually lost color in his face. Evan waited for them to take their seats. Only once the room settled did he speak, his voice steady enough to cut through the thick tension. "Before we begin, I should formally introduce myself," he said. "I'm Evan Mercer, founder and majority owner of Mercer Dynamics, the company you're acquiring." The silence that followed was devastating. Recognition washed over the executives like a cold wave. The same man they poured wine on. The same man they mocked. Their humiliation was immediate and inescapable. Evan did not mention the incident. He didn't smirk, didn't revel in their panic, didn't make even the smallest reference to the previous night. He simply proceeded with the meeting, discussing terms, clarifying details, and finalizing arrangements with a professionalism so sharp it only intensified their regret. The men shifted uncomfortably in their seats every time he looked in their direction. After the deal was signed, Evan requested that the same three executives remain behind. The rest of the room cleared quickly, everyone aware that something was about to be addressed. When the door finally clicked shut, the three stood stiffly in front of him, waiting for whatever punishment they assumed was coming. Evan studied them for a long moment, allowing the weight of the previous night to sit between them. "You never know who you're talking to," he said finally. His voice held no anger, just an undeniable depth of truth. The men apologized repeatedly, stumbling over their words, trying to explain, trying to excuse. Evan raised a hand gently to stop them. "I'm not interested in apologies," he said. "I'm interested in whether this is how you treat the people who work under you." The question landed heavier than any reprimand. They shook their heads, mortified. Evan nodded slowly. "Then we're going to make sure your future actions match those words." He informed them that as part of the acquisition, a leadership ethics overhaul would be implemented. Mandatory culture training, accountability structures, and behavioral guidelines would become standard. And they would be the first required to complete and demonstrate mastery of them. He could have fired them on the spot. He could have exposed them publicly, humiliated them as easily as they had humiliated him. But he chose instead to turn the situation into something better, an opportunity for growth rather than punishment. As they left the room, still shaken, they understood they had encountered a level of leadership far above anything they had ever shown. Evan gathered his papers, satisfied. Raising standards would always be worth more than revenge.